And this is a patch of lamb's quarters. The weeds grow really good around here. And lamb's quarters are one of my favorite vegetables in the summer, actually. And these are getting a little bit big, but sometimes I would just pick off the top and cook up a bunch of these like spinach. Just put them in boiling water and they shrink up just like spinach does. And here's some little younger, tender ones that are more the size to use. So that's what lamb's quarters is. This is a butternut tree that I planted. And if I live long enough, maybe I'll get to eat some butternuts off of it. When I was a kid, we had butternut trees on the farm where I grew up, which was 7 miles west of Goodhue. I grew up about 10 miles from here out in Goodhue County. So I'm in my home county again. And butternut trees, a disease wiped them out, and then there aren't any around for many years, and now they have some resistant varieties. I had an English walnut tree that had a good crop one year, but it didn't do it other years. The farther back apple tree is a Johnny Appleseed apple tree. And a number of years ago, I sent for it from someplace that had different famous trees from various places. You could get an oak from the Alamo and so forth, but you could get a Johnny Appleseed tree that was propagated from an apple tree that still existed from back in those times. So you can have heirloom plants just like you can textiles or china or whatever. And here's a pear tree, and it gets loaded down with pears. There's lots of little ones on, and there'll be lots more, and they'll be bigger in August or so. And then I have trouble with squirrels, which like to take a lot of them. And I have a grapevine growing here. And when I was a child, I remember my aunt and uncle planting a grapevine at my parents' farm by the windmill, and it grew up through the years. And I remember my mom climbing this big windmill picking grapes. And when I moved to Hayfield, I took a chunk of the grapevine along and had grapes growing there, and I took a chunk of it along when I moved here to Zumbrota. So they're green right now, but they're an old-fashioned Concord grape that are good for juice and jellies and so forth. And some of these old-fashioned varieties are hardy and keep growing. I've planted a lot of new varieties that didn't survive, especially in my haphazard kind of care where they need to sort of be okay on their own, or you don't get a lot of pampering around here. There isn't time for everything. This is my little garden not far from the house where I can come out and grab an onion or whatever I want that's handy. And there's kale and beans and kohlrabi, Swiss chard. New Zealand spinach is my favorite kind of spinach that grows real well. I'll have some cucumbers growing up on the fence here eventually, and there's some herbs like parsley and basil and chives and so forth in here. And zucchini, of course, in the corner. And some new elderberry bushes to keep those going. And there's a row of cherry trees here, and they go around the other side of the house. And there's lots of little cherries in here. And they're small, but they're real tasty. And I like to just sit out here and munch on a bunch of fresh cherries. And you have to spit out the seeds, but they're real good. Some people try them and like them. Other people think they're sour. And they're the same variety as you get from like the soil conservation or the natural resources people in the spring, that you get these small trees, and they're grown mainly for birds that like the berries, but I find them quite useful too. And they're quite small, and it's harder to take the seeds out if you want to make a cherry pie, but you can put them through a sieve or something like that and make use of them. And it seems like, you know, from strawberries to raspberries and cherries, and then there'll be apples and plums, and just all summer there's something growing.